like a body. Buzz like the bees, made in the shade. What a parade, what a parade. You gotta listen to your heart now, baby. You know it's gonna fall apart, but maybe you gotta pick it up and put it back together now.
We are live at the NAB in the year 2019. My name is Mike West. Thanks for joining us. We are coming to you from the BSWTV booth because we're on TV. Hi, Mom. Waving to all my family members who are not watching at this moment.
Is that radio with pictures? Is that what it is?
It really is radio with pictures.
Huh.
And in a few instances, disc jockey should not be seen. But what are you going to do?
That's why
it's
you're
the
in radio.
2000s. And I just spit. It's probably came out on HDTV there. So joining us is Hank Landsberg, president of Henry Engineering. Do people call you Hank Engineering once in a while? Just
they do.
Feel very comfortable with you?
That's right, and that's okay. That's okay.
Can I ask you quickly what your background is? How did you get into making cool products like you do?
Well, I started at Drake Chenault in 1974.
Now, guys like me, old farts know what Drake, but can you explain what Drake did?
Well, Bill Drake was kind of the guy who more or less invented top 40 radio, the formatics and structure, discipline, and so on. Anyway, Drake Chenault was a company in the 70s and 80s that produced pre-recorded music programming for automated radio stations back in the analog days.
Yeah.
Before we had all of this stuff of hard drive audio storage and software that would play the songs in the right order and all that. Before that, we did all that using analog tape and cart machines.
That was a wild system.
Yes.
Usually it worked.
It usually worked, and it was amazing that it did.
Yeah.
Everything had to work perfectly or nothing worked at all. Can you imagine the rigmarole of an automated time announce?
Oh, yeah, it was.
It was two big cartridges. Each one had 360 time announcements on it.
Crazy, man.
One was for even, one was for odd. So you'd have one cart machine that would say, it's 12:02. And another cart machine would say, it's 12:03 throughout the whole day. And keeping those things in sync to the real time, like you say, it's amazing that it worked.
Yeah.
Anyway, Drake Chenault, when they first were kind of getting started, they were, shall we say, a frugal company. And
you're very kind.
Yes, and very often, instead of having the budget to buy professional audio gear, we would buy stuff at the local hi-fi store or Radio Shack. And then, of course, then I had, as chief engineer, I had the big headache of making this consumer audio gear interface with the consoles, which were professional. And so I was constantly having to build these little interface boxes that would do that. And that's where, and after building a few dozen of those things, the light went on slowly.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe other people have this same problem too. And that's where the Matchbox came from, and then it kind of went out of control from there.
That's great.
So
you filled the need.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
I have another question for you that is unrelated to the equipment you're about to show us. Is it true that you were in Boy Scouts with David Lee Roth?
I was.
The David Lee Roth? You were running with the devil with young Dave?
Well, I didn't know he was going to be him in those days.
Did you? Okay, so
here's the deal.
Please.
I grew up in Pasadena, California.
Oh, man.
I was in Boy Scout Troop 18, and I was, 13 years old, and there was another kid in the troupe named David. He was, I think, maybe a year or two younger than me. And his folks got him an acoustic guitar, maybe for his birthday or something.
Wow.
He really wanted an electric guitar, but they wouldn't do that because that would make too much noise. But he knew that I was into all this nerdy electronic stuff. And so he asked me, is there any way to, electrify my guitar? So I said, well, okay, come over and we'll see what we can do. So I took a phonograph cartridge out of a record player.
A magnetic cartridge.
Oh, it wasn't even that good.
No.
It was a ceramic, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
And very half-assed attached it to his guitar, so the stylus kind of poked into the wood of the guitar body, and we plugged it in.
Pretty brilliant, dude.
And it sort of worked.
Yeah.
You could kind of hear something out of the speakers. So yeah, he grew up to be David Lee Roth. His dad was a physician.
I knew he came from a pretty brainiac family.
Yeah, Dr. Roth was a physician in Pasadena.
I won't keep elaborating on this, but was he a pretty shy kid? Or was he
I don't really remember. No, he was kind of out there.
Was he? Okay,
yeah,
so he's always been like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he wouldn't remember me, I'm sure. But thanks to
I'm dating myself now. We spent a lot of time partying with those guys because I worked at a station called KISW in Seattle. When we were one of the first to play Van Halen, and they were really good to us. And every time they came to town, we were out and about with them, and they knew how to party, man. Yeah.
Thanks to that ceramic phonocartridge.
You started it all. You, and now look what you're doing.
And now look.
Like this is like a Fender blue color for a guitar. Did you do that on purpose?
No, it just kind of happened.
That's cool. So what is these go together, right?
Yeah, these go together.
What are they called?
The top thing is the Sports Pod. It's been around for about 6 years.
What is a Sports Pod?
Well, the Sports Pod is a sort of a little mini controller for play-by-play announcers that are calling a game, football game, basketball game, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was originally intended for radio stations when they're doing sports remotes.
Okay.
Then I got a call about a year ago from a couple of guys who do school video sports coverage, telecasts of football games and baseball games that high schools and colleges and middle schools even, they do their video coverage and broadcast on the web. So this is a new thing, really popular.
Yeah.
A lot of schools these days have very sophisticated video production classes and full-on studios. Really cool toys that didn't exist when we were there.
And they get it immediately.
Yeah, they do. And so these two guys who do these video telecasts of school sports, they called me. They say, well, this Sports Pod is really great, but what we really need is something that does this, and so on. More stuff. Because the Sports Pod was really a radio product. I never really thought it would be used for video. But as it turns out, it lends itself very well to the audio portion of a video webcast. So after they gave me kind of a laundry list of their wish list, we brainstormed back and forth for a few months and came up with this bottom unit here, which is called a Sportscaster. And
let me hold it up for you, if I might. Here.
I can hold this up.
Oh, cool. Okay, hold them both up together. There we are.
Now the tricky part of doing video coverage of sports is not only do you need to mix a bunch of microphones together, but the broadcast requires a whole team, not just a couple of play-by-play guys. You've got maybe a couple play-by-play announcers, plus you've got maybe a spotter who's given statistics.
Sure.
You might have a sideline reporter down on the field, and then you have a whole crew of camera operators. And everybody in the team needs to be able to communicate offline without interrupting the play-by-play. You need to have an intercom so that the play-by-play guys can chat to each other off the air.
Yeah.
And the spotter needs to be able to give them statistics into their headphones.
Sure.
And they need to be able to communicate with the producer. And the producer needs to be able to call the shots to the cameraman. And the producer needs to be able to cue the talent and cue the sideline reporter, mix the sideline reporter in with the whole show.
There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff
There's a
going
lot of
on.
behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And typically what happens is a school who wants to do sports, they'll get all their video gear, cameras and whatnot. And then sort of as an afterthought, they'll buy microphones and mic mixer, and they very quickly learn that mixing the mics, that's the easy part. Integrating headphone audio and intercom turns into a giant headache because you have so many intercom paths that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And trying to sort of reinvent that wheel every time you do a broadcast is just a giant headache. So the sportscaster solves that problem.
Excellent.
It's a mic mixer with an integrated headphone distribution and intercom system.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. So there we go.
Sweet. And this is available now?
Yeah, these are in stock.
Okay.
BSW
At
has it.
BSWUSA.com.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, some people will answer this question, some won't. What are you working on for 2020? Can you say?
We just brought out another new product that we have over here.
Cool, man.
Yeah, this is an updated version of a product that we've had for about 10 or 12 years. It's called a Guest Pod. If you need to build a multi-listener headphone system, like in a conference room or a studio where you have a bunch of guest announcers and they all need headphones.
Yeah.
This is an easy way to do it. It's an individual headphone listening station that now has talkback and cough switches that you can integrate into your system.
Nice meaty buttons you're using.
Yep.
They're not going to wear out anytime soon.
Those are nice buttons, and the nice thing about this system is it's daisy chainable.
Oh, fantastic.
So you just feed audio into the first unit and then daisy chain all the rest of them using off-the-shelf Cat5 cabling, just one power supply, and away you go. So that we just introduced that a couple of months ago.
Okay, cool. You guys think of everything.
Well, we try.
It's I always found it fascinating because a lot of engineers are like super smart, obviously, can figure out how to put something like this together. But sometimes they'll build a product that they think is cool, but has no actual application.
I've had a few of those.
But I mean,
that happens.
so do you consult with just regular folk before you decide to bring this to market?
I try to, and a lot of times product ideas are actually suggestions that come from guys in the trenches.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the way it should be.
So so when you get an idea, especially if you get the same idea or a similar idea from more than one person, that makes the light go on, and then you know that it's something that probably has an application, an actual need in the real world. So
Well,
that's a good way to approach things. I've found that sometimes, as you say, me as an engineer, when I have an idea, it might be a good idea, but maybe not.
you need to sell stuff.
Yeah, you do. There's sometimes a fine line between a saleable project and a science project.
Well, you know what, man? David Lee Roth would be very proud of you.
Oh, I'm sure he would. I am not sure.
He's still kicking it.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, amazing. Well, so are you.
I try.
Congratulations, Hank.
Thank you.
Henry Engineering. This is the guy, Hank Landsberg, president of Henry Engineering. Thanks for joining us, and you can find Henry's products at BSWUSA.com. We'll be back with another guest in about a half an hour here at BSWTV NAB 2019. I'm Mike West. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.